Welcome to Live Ball, presented by Harper Volkswagen. Here are your hosts, Paige Dower and Todd Kelly Jr.
Welcome into Live Ball and good morning, ball fans. It is the third Saturday in October Eve. We cannot wait to get down to Tuscaloosa to watch this coveted rivalry. There's so many reasons why this rivalry is set apart from other rivalries in college football. There's so much to get into, from the key matchups. Will Tennessee's defense be able to slow down Alabama's quarterback and Ty Simpson? Will the pass defense for Alabama be stronger or weaker than what Joey Aguilar can do on offense? There's just so much to get into, TK, and I want to start with you. Obviously, playing for the Tennessee Volunteers, a defensive back for the Vols. You didn't have a good run with Tennessee down in Tuscaloosa either. I mean, it's been since 2003. What makes it so difficult to win down there?
Well, you think about it, the roster. I mean, these guys, all of them were born in the 2000s.
Yeah.
So they haven't seen a Tennessee victory against Alabama on the road. Talent, a huge difference between talent from Bama and Tennessee in past years. But now, Paige, we've seen, Heupel's 2-2. He's got to win on the road, these big games. And 2003 was a long, long time ago. I remember I was just a little munchkin running around as an 8-year-old, right? And just thinking about that, it's about time. Mm-hmm. And we have a great opportunity. Off air, we were talking about, you really feel it in the air at times. And this team's going to have to churn something up, because this morning people are waking up and realizing we're big, big underdogs.
How frustrating is it knowing that, the luck just wasn't on your side, and until Heupel came here, it really wasn't on Tennessee's side? How difficult is it to get over that hump when the luck just hasn't gone your way for so many meetings on the road?
Well, that's a great question. Nothing went our way, and, we didn't have much luck down there, but also belief in ourselves that we could win the game. When you're an SEC caliber player playing against a former national champion, sometimes you go into their locker room and you think, can we even win this game? And unfortunately, some of the teams that Tennessee had, that was the case. Mm-hmm. But that's not the case with this 2025 team. They're confident. They've got a great leader in Joey Aguilar. We have talent. I think man-to-man we match up with them. It's just showing up to Tuscaloosa and surviving with a victory.
Yeah, and the luck now has gone in Tennessee's favor since Josh Heupel took over the Tennessee football program. He's reignited one of the best rivalries in college football. Why do you think it is that Tennessee and Alabama have been able to trade wins the last 4 meetings?
Coach Heupel. I mean, that's it. That's the answer. I think he brought what Tennessee football needed. Coach Heupel gets these guys ready mentally, not just physically, to where they know that they can win any ball game. We dropped the ball in Neyland against Georgia, but that's okay, because we have a team that can play with any team in the country. So we're going down on the road to Tuscaloosa. Haven't won since 2003. The team knows this. They know the statistics, but they're going and they're saying, you know what? Why not us? And they have a great opportunity to do that tomorrow.
Yeah. In 2022, did you smoke a cigar?
I did. So at the time, we only had our son, and he was young, so we went to the game, and I had to leave early. So I didn't get to rush the field.
Okay.
But I had my stogie ready to go. I actually have a picture of it. We won't show y'all that, though. But I've got another one ready to light up, so I'm looking forward to it tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get into this game here in 2025. Maybe it's another cigar that you can light at the end of the game as well. But we talked last week about bulletin material, how it gets to the team. For Arkansas, they were kind of running their mouth about the opportunities that they have against Tennessee's defense. Well, we're hearing that again, but this time from Alabama's wide receiver and Jeremy Bernard.
For us to have the opportunity to go against man-to-man is a field of dreams, man. That's what, receivers want, those one-on-one matchups. So it's just going to be up to us to go out there and make the plays.
Yeah, so you're saying it's a field of dreams. There's, again, holes in the defense. I mean, Willie Martinez talked about it as well. He said, we're just going to keep the attention on ourselves. But it probably has gotten to the players similar to last week. How frustrating is it that back-to-back weeks you have opposing teams talking about the great opportunities they have against your defense?
Well, Paige, the eye in the sky doesn't lie. And games past, there have been holes. And, as a defensive back, that hurts really bad to hear and say, but Coach Martinez, Coach Nez, he coached me. And when you're preparing for a game, you know who the stars are, who the impact players are, and when they're jarring a little bit and running their mouths, it can add fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
So you don't need any additional, fuel, energy to this already third Saturday in October rivalry. But I think our defensive backs are going to be fired up to get out there. And, whether it's our corners, our star position, our safeties, they're going to have their head on the swivel looking for him.
Yeah. And going back to your playing days, being, a defensive back for Tennessee, and then you can maybe compare it to this time for Tennessee where they're, the last in the SEC in the yards that they give up, more than 250 yards a game. How much more pressure is on Tennessee's secondary now knowing Jermon McCoy's not playing? Of course, Ricky Gibson is still out. So you have guys that are rising to the occasion, but there's still kind of maybe some inconsistency with their play.
They are, and it's the second half of the season. So, growing, maturing, that's over. It's college football playoff time in my eyes. Every game is going to determine whether you qualify for the college football playoff or not. So whether you're a freshman or haven't started before, when you're out there, you have to perform. And so this defensive backfield specifically, they're going against an offense that doesn't turn the ball over much. Ty Simpson, we saw early on in the season against Florida State, was making so many mistakes, and he learned very swiftly. That just shows, why he's going to be a pro quarterback one day. So they're going to take care of the ball, and it's going to be on the defensive backs as well as the D-line and linebackers to make something happen and cause some havoc.
Yeah, you mentioned the defensive line as well, and we can get to a soundbite from David Hobbs. So you had the squeeze on last week, had a great game against Arkansas as well. What he says here in the soundbite, I think, will be key to Tennessee's success, especially in the line of scrimmage.
Play behind our pass more, be more physical. Remember our assignments for the play. There's little stuff. It's just a whole bunch of little stuff. Once we get all the little stuff right, it's gonna be exciting.
So obviously here he's talking about they just need to be more physical. How demoralizing is it maybe for Tennessee where maybe that's been a constant theme for them that they kind of get outworked in the trenches and then, out on the boundaries, they don't execute the way that they want to. How demoralizing is that when you know that you can play to a certain standard, but just for some reason you just can't get there these first few games?
It's very frustrating. And, as a defensive unit, you also have your position groups. So when your D-line, they're doing great this year, getting to the quarterback, causing TFLs, the D-line and the linebackers, and you see your defensive backs not making plays or giving up big plays, that can cause some distress within the defensive unit. So I think at the end of the day, the D-line needs to continue to be physical, and the defensive backs need to step it up. But David Hobbs, you saw him coming back was a huge, huge deal, and the game's going to be won or lost in the trenches this weekend.
Yeah, and what I liked about the end of his soundbite, too, from David Hobbs, if you missed it, he talked about it's just the little things. And once they get that, it's going to be a very exciting game, very exciting defense. Are you seeing this team trend in the right direction?
100%, and we're so close. That's what is frustrating about it. You see the improvement and, people stepping up, but you're always one step away from being that true defense that they can be. And Coach Banks knows that. So I think Coach Banks has understood, hey, here's my guys I can rely on, and here's what we're going to look like as a defense moving forward. So I'm really, really excited to see what we put on the table tomorrow.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and get into our squeeze, into our key matchups. So our squeeze, you guys know it. It's my favorite segment. I love talking about, what position groups and what players really have the most pressure heading into this game to deliver a win for Tennessee in over 2 decades in Tuscaloosa. When we can start with your squeeze, I think it has to go with timing, right?
Exactly, and typically we pick, a specific person, but in this instance, my squeeze is going to be on the Tennessee offense, right? The fluidity of the offense and dictating the speed of the game, the tempo. We've seen time and time again when we run tempo, we do really well. Conversations have been had. Well, we don't have or you got to let the defense rest. Well, we've got all the guys we need and that we have, and I think the offense is going to determine the speed of the game and if we win the game. If we slow it down, we're not going to be able to win the game in Tuscaloosa. So we've got to start fast, score often, and not let our foot off the gas pedal.
Yeah, and I think what is kind of interesting about that squeeze, too, is there's so much that can be said about Josh Heupel and the tempo. I think it's almost equally as important to be able to show that you can slow down the speed of the game as well and maybe keep the ball out of Alabama's hands. And I think we saw that with how Deshaun Bishop and Star Thomas were able to run it against Arkansas. How important is having variable of speed in this game?
It's huge. And explosive plays too, right, Paige? You know, when we do slow it down, we can't have the 2 yards here, 3 yards in a cloud of dust on the road in Tuscaloosa. One, you know, they may cause us to cough the ball up, or two, you know, we get to a third and short situation, they stop us and we give them the ball. So I agree. We've got to have both sides, the passing game and the rushing game there. With Deshaun Bishop listed as probable,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure he's not going to miss the game against Alabama,
Josh Heupel
right?
seems confident, so that is a good tune. Yeah.
So I'm excited to see him back and just the offense and us attacking all the time.
I think they'll certainly need that. When I'm looking at Alabama's pass defense, they have one of the best in the country. They average about 140 yards a game. You compare that to Tennessee's offense, where they're passing for almost 300 yards a game, so completely different. And when we can look to what Alabama's done this season, surprisingly, one of the teams that had good success was Vanderbilt, and it's because they were able to spread the wealth, which is what Joey Aguilar has been doing all season.
Right.
How important is it to get not only the wide receivers but the tight ends and running backs involved in the pass game?
It's essential, and Alabama's defense hasn't seen an offense like this. You know, I would have laughed earlier if you said Vanderbilt, you know, preseason, but,
yes,
you know, they were actually making plays, and it was a great game, and I think we can do the same. I think our offense takes it up a notch because of so many threats we have on the outside as well as, you know, at the tight end position. So, you know, the more targets we have and the more people out there making plays, the better chance we'll have to steal a win down there.
Yeah, and when we maybe turn the attention to the squeeze that I have, you know, again, whether it's position or player, I also think this game will be heavy on mentality of the Tennessee players.
It's out there in the social media. You know, we just care about how we prepare. You know, we know that our opponent's a good team. Obviously, everybody that we play is really good, and they're going to be ready for us. You know, we just got to be our best when we play them.
I think there's a good point by Jalen McMurray. He's a defensive back for Tennessee. He plays a lot at the star or nickel, whichever term you want to use. And for him, he mentioned trust, which is what Joshua Joseph said after the Arkansas game. I think that's what led to more inspired play from the defense in the second half against the Razorbacks. You juxtapose that to Alabama, whose head coach was talking about how much the team already trusts each other and how much the team has fight in the way that they play. For Tennessee to put emphasis and a premium on trust so that they can go out and do their job to the best of their ability, I think that kind of goes into what we were talking about earlier in the show. Like, this team is really very close to being kind of elite defense, like an elite defense. How much is trust a huge factor in this game?
It's number one. It's for me, it is the premium. It's the standard, right? Can I depend on the person next to me to be where they're supposed to be and do what they're supposed to do, right? Do your job. It's very simple. And when you go on the road, defense travels. So communication is going to be at a premium. You know, when you play in away games, you can hear the defensive calls. You can communicate better. That's to our advantage as a defense. So we're going to see, you know, hey, if you trust each other, be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there.
How important is that trust when you do go into big road games or just big games like this? Like, can you remember a time when you were playing where you're like, oh, we were very much in sync with each other, like we had a ton of trust in each other, and you went out there and were able to kind of have game-changing plays?
Absolutely. And the first thing I can think of is, you know, my freshman year, just going on the road and being a young freshman out there playing ball. You know, the upperclassmen believed in me and trusted me, and when I made a mistake, guess what? I was held accountable, and I didn't make the same mistake again. So I think with this defense, bend but don't break. Yeah. There's going to be times where big plays happen. It's how you respond. You know, so what, now what? Get back and get where you're supposed to be. And, you know, I think if we can bounce back from some of those big plays that we may give up, you know, that'll help us win the ball game.
Yeah, I love that you're talking about big plays, because we have some big plays that we want to get into in the next segment when we talk about what the betting lines are, maybe one bet that I created for us, and then we'll go to enemy lines. We'll talk to the voice of the Tide and Chris Stewart in our final segment. So make sure you stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I'm VFL Chris Brown. Experience the VW brand proudly being produced in the great state of Tennessee. Harper Volkswagen is a proud partner of Tennessee Athletics. Go Vols!
Welcome to Live Ball, presented by Harper Volkswagen. Here are your hosts, Paige Dower and Todd Kelly Jr.
Of the sports betting world was like, I figured it was a nice parlay for us, maybe, if that's the right way to use that. So we'll bring on Will Heflin of VIP Play to talk a little bit about the sports betting lines that we have this week for Tennessee on the road in Tuscaloosa. Hey, Will.
Hey, guys. Super excited to work with you, Paige. Love your work. TK,
All right. Well, I can't quite hear you at the moment. We'll get that figured out. But I do want to turn maybe our attention, as we get the technical issues figured out, to a couple of plays that we had, TK. I know you and I had always really talked about where we can look at this. For me, when I look at the first line that we have, we could go to the spread right now, which is total points, over 58.5 points in this game. Do you think this game is going to get to 58.5?
Well, my score prediction is, around that. Both teams having either upper 20s, lower 30s. I'm going to take the under. Reason being, I really think even though we give up some big plays, our defense, I think will show up at times. I think our offense is going to be efficient. I think in the first quarter we'll see a lot more scoring, and then in the second half, not as much. So I'm going to go with the under 58.5.
Okay. I think we might also have Will back here with us. Funny enough, I think I might take the over for the 58.5. I had the final score 34-30.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it'll start out fast because
Yeah.
that's just the way these two teams have looked for this season. It's kind of really been those middle quarters where the games have slowed down. I think specifically we could go to the Alabama-Georgia game when Georgia was getting some production from its pass rushers. Ty Simpson was uncomfortable those entire second and third quarters, and I think that's what Joshua Josephs and even Jalen McMurray can help provide for Tennessee.
We're going to have to pressure him consistently. When he has pressure against him, he just performs differently. He's a great pocket passer, but when you put that pressure on him, we saw that in the Florida State game as well as you mentioned the Georgia game, he's a different quarterback. So when you can get him moving out of the pocket, it gives you an advantage, and there's a reason why he doesn't turn the ball over that much. So get him out of the pocket and make him throw, errant passes that he's not comfortable throwing.
And I think that's exactly what Tennessee will have to do. I know we talked earlier in the show, especially during our squeeze, for all of the inconsistency of Tennessee's defense, they have shown fantastic flashes. You could go to them being among the sack leaders, the TFLs that they have, the forced fumbles, which is second in the nation with 11. Yeah. It's that type of game-changing play that I think they're going to need to either keep this game close or pull off the upset like they have in their last two wins.
I agree. Whoever wins, from the turnover perspective, looking at the turnover margin, I think will win this ball game. So, the defense has to continue doing what they're doing, forcing fumbles, making tackles behind the line of scrimmage for TFLs, and sacking Ty Simpson. The more we see him on the ground, I'd love for his jersey to be green by the end of the game. For sure.
That'd be tough, wearing red. That'd have to be a lot of sacks saying red look green. Christmas Day on his jersey.
That's right.
We talked about, the high-scoring game that it might be. And I'm just wondering, when we look at a couple of the other bets, the first team to score, would you take Tennessee? Would you take Alabama? The way that they both have started so fast, I almost think it will go down to the coin flip to start the game. But who would you take in being able to score first? Tennessee, Alabama?
Tennessee.
Yeah.
I think we'll see. I mean, I would expect that if Bama wins the toss, they'll probably defer. And then I think if we win the toss, we'll probably want the ball just to set the tempo. I could be wrong about Bama, but I think if we win the toss, we want to show what we're made of, get that tempo going, get the crowd out of it. That's at least what I would do.
I need your aggressive play calling in this game. I think that will be what ends up kind of changing the game. We might have Will here with us now. Will, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
hey, Will. Yeah. So, tell our viewers a little bit about our partnership. Of course, us teaming up this week to talk all things Tennessee and Alabama. Really good bets. I'm sure you heard us talking about it. But great to partner with you guys at VIP Play.
Yeah, super excited to have you on board. Love your work. Love you guys' show. TK, happy to have you as well. For your listeners that don't know me, I'm a VFL, so super easy fit. for us, it's just going to be exciting to get into, and there'll be some great things coming down the lines, but or in the future. I guess lines we're talking about the books themselves. But anyways, I heard you guys talking about a couple of the things. The Tennessee to score prop is definitely an interesting one. Plus 120 for Tennessee on that. So relatively even, but pretty good value. And one thing I wanted to mention about just headed into this game. So when we put out our look ahead lines in the summer, Tennessee was catching about 13, maybe 13 and a half. So close to 2 touchdowns headed into this game. We've seen, 5-6 games play out for both teams. Sitting at 8.5 right now. It's been at 7.5, 8 at some points in the week. So really interesting to see. No, I think people were a little bit underestimating of Joey coming into the year. I think that's definitely part of it. And then when you talk about a Tennessee team that hasn't won in Tuscaloosa, in forever, for it to be a one-score, game on paper, fairly telling. But as we all know, from playing and watching, there's certainly been some betting lines that have been way off. The games luckily aren't played on paper, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and then I think the bets are so interesting too, because you mentioned it being 8.5. I think it'll be closer to a one possession game, maybe even like kind of like a field goal difference. And we do encourage you guys to download the VIP Play app. You obviously have to be 21 and older and live in Tennessee to do so. If we could provide our insight to this, not betting advice, but our insight would be, I think it's a one possession game, because we look at how Tennessee has won all of their games by one possession. Alabama's 2 of their 3 wins in conference play have been by a field goal. I'd imagine, because of my confidence in Tennessee, it would be a closer game than the 8.5 point difference.
Yeah, I'm not in the betting market, versus the stock market. I can pick hot stocks, but I think with that kind of spread, the 8.5, I think that's a bigger buffer than Tennessee needs. I really think it's going to come down to the last possession. Whoever has the ball is going to win the game. So I see it being another one of those instant classics where we're all on the edge of our couches, or if you're at the game, you're leaning forward, standing up, waiting for that field goal to go through. So it's going to be a big game, but I think it's surprising that it was a 2-touchdown preseason. That's a big deal.
Yeah, I think a lot of people had doubt in Joey Aguilar, not so much anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
A little more proven. Well, we appreciate you joining the show. We obviously have a code for our viewers to use in FDP VIP to start your journey as well with VIP Play. Can you tell us where folks can find you guys?
Yeah, so we're on all the socials. Just look for _VIP Play, X, Instagram, wherever you like to get your content. And then, like you said, download the app, use Paige's code, helps her out. We'll have some more things in the coming weeks, but again, super excited to work with you, and it should be a really awesome weekend around the league. I think last thing I'll leave you with, that's not necessarily about Tennessee, but about the league in general this year. I know you guys watch a lot of football. I'm a connoisseur of not just Tennessee, but all the games. There have been so many one-score games around the league this year. And, you look at Alabama in the futures market, and they're right behind Ohio State, sitting at second in the national championship odds. But then we look here, and it's a one-score and 2-point conversion type spread. So I think, it's just been such a balanced year, and there's so much parity in college football right now. That you really don't know what you're going to get. And so the opportunity is right in front of you if you're Tennessee headed into Tuscaloosa. So it should be a phenomenal weekend. Again, thank you guys so much. Excited to have you on board. And, one thing Paige has requested, and it's not up in the app yet, but we've got the team working on it, is Tennessee and Alabama's total turnovers in the game, a defensive prop. Tennessee has been an opportunistic defense, kind of that boomer bust, which is kind of interesting, but it'll probably be like 2.5. We'll see what the price is on that, but that was something Paige requested, so we'll have that up in the app. If you do head on over to VIP Play and check that out. You might find that in the specials tab, and we'll tag Paige on it so you know it's from her. We'll
Nice.
see if she can start. We'll see if she can start 1 for 1. So we'll see. I have a feeling
I hope I can.
She's on the more than 2.5.
I am. I just think the way that Tennessee's forced 11 fumbles through the season, they forced 4 turnovers, or I guess takeaways against the Arkansas Razorbacks. Alabama has been very secure with the ball, so I think it could end up being a really interesting matchup. But hopefully that does get up there, because I think that could be a fun one for people to get involved with. But anyway, thank you, Will. I appreciate it, and we'll see you next Friday.
All right. Thanks, guys. Enjoy.
Of course. Yeah, so it should be an exciting game. I think it'll be close, kind of like how we had mentioned. What do you think will be key to the game for Tennessee to walk away with victory before we let you get to Merrill Lynch?
Keys to victory. I think the biggest key to victory is how we start the game. I mean, the offense has to start fast. We have to have tempo. We can't let our foot off of the gas pedal. I think we can take the crowd out if we score quick, right, and get a quick stop and get the ball back. But, the quicker tempo we can get and, the more Joey can get it out of his hands and spread the wealth and, hand it off to Deshaun Bishop, Star Thomas, Peyton Lewis, the better chance we're going to have at stealing a victory from Tuscaloosa. And it's been forever, 2003. Man, I'm ready to say in 2025 we took down the Crimson Tide in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I think this is probably going to be the year. I took Tennessee to beat Georgia earlier. I think they have all of the skill to be able to do that. They just have to put it all together for a complete game.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you, TK. Appreciate
thanks,
it.
Paige.
All right, we'll be right back for more with the Tennessee-Alabama preview. We have Chris Stewart coming up, and then my final thoughts. We'll be right back.
Your business can't afford the downtime that comes with a leaky roof. So whether you need a repair or a replacement, count on the professionals from McGuire Roofing and Construction. Your protection is our passion. We service and sell all types of roofs and have worked with some of East Tennessee's most recognized names. We have 25 years of experience and free inspection estimates, plus best in business warranties. Put an end to your roofing problems today by calling McGuire Roofing and Construction.
Into Live Ball. Paige Dower here to talk all things Tennessee and Alabama, and we're bringing on a dear friend of mine and Chris Stewart, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide in your first couple of seasons being the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide's football team. And Chris, I appreciate all of your time to join us here today.
Of course, Paige, anytime. It's always great to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be a good one in Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday. It's a night game, as it should be. When you looked at this game early in the season to comparing it to what this matchup is turning out to be here in Week 7, what do you think is the biggest difference that you've seen from where maybe you thought this game was going to go back in the preseason to where you think the game's going to go now here in Week 7?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know that there's much of a difference, frankly. I think there were question marks for both at quarterback. You were replacing, I started to say veteran, but that wasn't the case with Tennessee, but a highly publicized and obviously talented quarterback, but you've replaced him with a guy who's been much more efficient and a better fit, at least from the outside, and certainly a guy who's been able to engineer an offense that's put a lot of points on the board. Alabama, there were question marks, and probably even more so after Week 1, but managed to, in Ty Simpson, get better and better and better, and he's playing at as high a level as anybody in the country right now. So I don't know if they are in, either one is in a different spot from where we thought they would be. But I think the play of the quarterbacks and the success they've had is something that has certainly been a major reason why both are in a really good position right now. Obviously, Tennessee with the conference loss would prefer to be undefeated.
Yes.
But at the same time, you've got two squads that are really, really talented, explosive offensively. And I think even though Tennessee hadn't played as well on the defensive end, they've got some talent, the ability to do so at any time.
What intrigues you most about that matchup when it goes from Alabama's passing attack to Tennessee's pass defense? Alabama is one of the top teams in the country with more than 300 passing yards a game. What do you like most about that matchup for Alabama's perspective?
I think just the confidence level that they're playing with, and I know Tennessee's numbers aren't great on that side, and that's where Alabama's got to take advantage, because what Tennessee's doing on offense has been so impressive, but Alabama's got to find a way to continue to mix in some run with their passing game, and they do a great job, Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb, the OC, of utilizing even the pass game almost as run plays, or basically as run plays, with some of the schemes and some of the things they do. So while it may not be the traditional turn, hand the ball to the running back, let him go type of ground game, it still produces the same effect. And I think they've got to be creative and utilize the speed that they have, the depth they have at wide receiver. And hopefully Jam Miller's healthy enough. Don't know yet as we're talking here if that's going to be the case. But coming off the concussion last weekend, a scary hit that he took in the game at Missouri, the hope is he can be back, because Alabama's been a different offense with him available, not just as a runner, but as a blocker in pass protection too.
When we keep it on Alabama's offense, what maybe has been one of the more impressive aspects to their success is the sustained drives that they have. So many times you can go to the Missouri game, Vanderbilt. I mean, it's 11, 12, 13 play drives. A lot of that has to do with late down conversions. That's where Tennessee has struggled, giving up, more than 45% of an opponent's attempts on that. How important are those moments for Alabama? Do you think that that's where they need to capitalize most in this game?
Yeah, without question. But the hope is that you can avoid those, because then it becomes a one-stop situation. And even though the numbers may have worked against Tennessee, that still puts you in a tougher position. Mm-hmm. So hopefully they can execute on first and second down, which they've done a good job of. It's been a lot of third and shorts that they've had, or third and manageable, obviously. I'll go to the fourth down play last week, or one of the two fourth down plays on that last big drive that led to the touchdown that put Alabama up by 10. They had everybody talks about the pass and the catch from Todd Brooks on a 4th and 8 near the boundary that extended the drive. But what really set that up, I think, and I may be off, but I think it was 3rd and 23. I know it was 3rd and extremely long.
Yes.
And he threw a check down to Kevin Riley, and Coach DeBoer said it himself. They put me in he smiled and said they put the pressure on me because they got so much of it back. Normally you're thinking, let's get a little bit punt, but they got 15, I think, on the play to make it 4th and 8, which, where it was on the field and the time and everything, forced him to really make a decision. And he opted to roll the dice. They wanted to go for it, and he believed in them. And obviously that confidence was well-founded because they converted. But those are the type of things where you're just putting pressure on the opposing defense, and the ability to stretch the field as well is awfully big for their offense. They can attack the opposition a lot of different ways, and hopefully they'll be able to do so successfully again this weekend.
That's a great segue when you're mentioning, Kalen DeBoer and the trust that he has in this team. How much of that has been a factor in this team's ability to respond after a humbling loss to FSU in week 1, and the fact that their backs have been up against the wall every single week since that moment? But Kalen DeBoer praises the team's fight and ability to find a way to win. What impresses you the most about this team's ability to respond?
I think the way that he's been able to get them to adjust their thinking, and part of that, I think, is adjusting slightly in the manner in which he coached. He's one of the many things that I respect about him is that his consistency. Same guy every week, every time you talk to him. You never have to concern yourself with how he's going to be to deal with from my standpoint, or in his messaging is very similar for the players and coaches, and they appreciate the consistency. But there was a little juice to him that they had not seen after that FSU loss, and it was just a different way of getting the message across, motivating. He knew he had to tweak his approach just a little bit, and they very positively responded to it. And it's been fun to see. Again, not changing who he is, but maybe a little bit of the approach, because there were, he said it during one of the, I can't remember if it was TV or radio, but during the Florida State game, he said it was, you could see the here we go again look and mentality that they had last year in some key ball games. And he said, it's one thing if you get that after a loss. He said it's another thing when you get that in the middle of a game. And we got to completely change our way of thinking and our approach and staying positive. But you got to take care of that. It can't be false bravado. It's got to be taken care of during the week. And they did that. And I just think, again, the approach, the messaging, without getting away from who and what he is, has been a key part of their success. But let's also not forget two other big pieces of that. We can talk approach, motivation. Biggest thing that happened was getting Tim Keenan and Jam Miller back.
Yes.
They didn't play in the first game, first couple of games or so. And if you have those two guys available, that game probably looks dramatically different.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I think what has helped the Alabama offense look dramatically different at times, too, is when they get their offensive tackle and Caden Proctor involved in some offensive plays. I mean, what kind of offensive weapon has he turned into for the Alabama Crimson Tide?
It went from being that play, which technically went down as a run because the pass was behind the line of scrimmage, so it was a lateral, but it was a pass play. And kind of an eye opener. Then he uses him the next week again. Then he uses him again, and it's been pretty funny. Now we've joked about when is he going to return punts and things like that are clearly not going to happen. But it's you go back and you look at the last play. The last game.
I guess Missouri, yeah.
He got right, and you look at the end zone camera. The play called was designed for him to run it between the guard and the tackle, and Mizzou had it defended well. They had the spot well covered, and then he bounces it to the outside a little bit. I say that, and it may have been the week before. I'm sorry. He's had so many, I've kind of got them.
Well, no, there was a moment against Missouri, where he bounced it to the outside as well,
He did. That was the Wildcat play, but the one I'm thinking of, actually, I believe, was Georgia.
Okay.
Now that I think, or Vanderbilt, where where he's, they hand it to him, he runs to the spot, but they've got it stacked up, and he literally bounces it to the outside and runs over a guy who, bless his heart, was trying to hang on for dear life to make the play. So it's been fun to watch because he's incredibly athletic, but obviously more than a load to try and bring down.
Absolutely. Chris Stewart, the voice of the Crimson Tide, before we let you go, what is the deciding factor in this game? Whoever comes out with the win, what do they have to do?
I think for Alabama, it's continue to protect football the way you have. They've had one fumble. They've had one interception all season. I think they've got to stay within character in terms of protecting the football and not allow any takeaways. But I think they've got to also be very sure in their pass coverage and not let Tennessee just gash them in the pass game as they did last year and as they've done many times this year to the opposition. You got to be efficient offensively, but you got to cut down some of the explosiveness that Tennessee's had throughout the year.
Yes, absolutely. Chris Stewart, I appreciate your time. It'll be a great time in Tuscaloosa, and can't wait for kickoff.
Look forward to seeing you back in T-Town, Paige. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Thank you. That was Chris Stewart, voice of the Crimson Tide. We'll be right back for our quick final thoughts on this third Saturday in October Eve.
I'm VFL Chris Brown. Experience the VW brand proudly being produced in the great state of Tennessee. Harper Volkswagen is a proud partner of Tennessee Athletics. Go Vols!
To Live Ball, presented by Harper Volkswagen. Here are your hosts, Paige Dower and Todd Kelly Jr.
Welcome back into Live Ball. Paige Dower here for our final thoughts on this third Saturday in October Eve for Tennessee to travel down to the Alabama Crimson Tide Bryant-Denny Stadium to get a first win since 2003. Of course, trading wins the last 4 matchups, and you could credit Josh Heupel for his ability to reignite one of the best rivalries in college football, winning the last 2 at home. Now the biggest challenge to go on the road to win at Alabama, who's a team that is very strong at home. When we look to our conversation with myself and VFL Todd Kelly Jr. earlier in the show, a lot of it will have to come down to the offensive pace for Tennessee. Their ability to spread the wealth will be probably the biggest key in this matchup, where Joey Aguilar is able to get it not only to his top 3 targets in the wide receiver room, but getting Miles Kitselman involved at the tight end room, and then over to the running back room with Star Thomas, Deshaun Bishop. Not only do they need to be effective in their ground game like we saw against Arkansas, they need to be weapons for Joey Aguilar in the passing attack. That's partly why Tennessee has one of the best passing offenses in the country with more than 300 yards a game. But the challenge will be stiffer than ever as they get ready to go against the Alabama Crimson Tide, whose pass defense is about as stingy as it gets, giving up about 140 yards a game. But where they'll have success is spreading the wealth. That's what teams who have had success against Alabama this season have done. That's what Vanderbilt did, getting to 198 yards, the most Alabama's pass defense has let up all season long. And for how Joey Aguilar is clicking on offense with Tennessee, that's exactly what they'll need to do. But if we could go past the fundamentals of this game, it'll be trust in the defense. We saw the inspired play in the second half against Arkansas. We see how much that has helped Alabama turn their season around after a humbling loss to FSU in week 1. So execution on defense will certainly be key, and that starts with trust, so everyone can do their job effectively. I think it'll be a close game. I think this will be a 1-possession game. If Tennessee can get some consistency on defense, I think this is their game to lose. I still think maybe it'll be the Alabama Crimson Tide winning 34-30. And before we let you go, we have a great story with Gabe Lazo. He's the assistant coach for Lady Vol basketball. His story as Hispanic Heritage Month has just closed on October 15th, and how his journey and his family fleeing from Cuba has been a key role in how he has his life now, the leader that he wants to be, and the coach that he has become. Take a listen.
Watching my mom struggle, right, and not having anyone to empower her is probably why God put me in this position.
The risks and work ethic of Gabe's mother, Adela, formed one of his most notable traits:
gratitude.
Gabe's father was also a great influence later in Gabe's life, when they reconnected when he was 18 years old.
He went to war against Fidel. He was captured. He was a political prisoner. A lot of that Cuban pride also comes from, me learning, who my father was.
The link to that conversation you can find on our website, fulldisclosurepro.com. You can find more from tonight's or this morning's episode back on our YouTube channel at Full Disclosure Pro as well. It's been great having you guys here this week. We're very excited for the third Saturday in October. I'll be there at Bryant-Denny Stadium for all of the exciting things that should happen for the Tennessee Volunteers. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back this weekend, and then, of course, next Friday for more on Live Ball. I'll talk to you then.
Welcome to Live Ball, presented by Harper Volkswagen. Here are your hosts, Paige Dower and Todd Kelly Jr.
I'm VFL Chris Brown. Experience the VW brand proudly being produced in the great state of Tennessee. Harper Volkswagen is a proud partner of Tennessee Athletics. Go Vols!
Business can't afford the downtime that comes with a leaky roof. So whether you need a repair or a replacement, count on the professionals from McGuire Roofing and Construction. Your protection is our passion. We service and sell all types of roofs and have worked with some of East Tennessee's most recognized names. We have 25 years of experience and free inspection estimates, plus best in business warranties. Put an end to your roofing problems today by calling McGuire Roofing and Construction.